I mean, I don't know how you guys felt. I thought it was one of, if not the weakest episodes this season.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
felt that.
Sorry to last week's episode that I said was the weakest. I was wrong. This is the weakest.
So do you really think it's gone downhill since episode 5? Just down and down? Because I thought last week was one of the best episodes.
I don't think it's going
One of the
downhill.
best.
I just think I think it's setting up, if that makes sense. So I think this week's episode was just let's tie up previous loose ends. Let's start new tracks for the last 2 episodes.
I see what you mean. This is kind of like the prelude to whatever carnage we're going to get in the last 2 episodes, which is essentially like the finale,
And
the MCU movie finale.
3 people in the Hex with powers. I think the next 2 episodes are going to be sick. I think we're going to get some filth.
Whoa, cowboy! 3 people? Last I checked, it was just 2. What happened in this episode to make it 3?
Well, Charlie, would you like to take it away? What happened in this episode?
Well, Rambo come through, Sylvester Stallone, he ran through, and he ran through the Wanda's magical wall and got some powers from it, didn't she?
Oh my God.
We don't know what they are, though. I mean, obviously, unless you read the comics or whatever, but I don't know what she can quite do right now, but she did a sweet landing, that's what I know.
She did do a sweet landing.
Yeah.
She did a sweet landing.
Superhero landing.
I think
I'm sorry.
you've given me inspiration to say that the actor Paul Bettany really wants to work with, who's going to be cameoing in WandaVision, is Rambo, aka Sly Stallone.
Yes.
And he comes in, cocks his gun, and he goes, "What? You didn't know my first name was Monica?"
Oh my god, amazing.
And he's like an alternate universe Monica Rambeau. Like in the same way, we've got 2 Quicksilvers.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely going to happen.
Yeah.
So we're in the 2010s this week, and I don't really think it worked.
No, I don't know if it's just that I don't find that sort of comedy particularly funny.
That's what I was thinking.
But then I do like stuff like Parks and Rec quite a lot, so I don't know if that's the reason. But I just thought it was a good riff on those kinds of shows, but I wasn't finding it funny in the same way the riffs on like the 50s shows. I was finding it funny as actual humour and on top of it being a reference. Do you know what I mean? Whereas this week it was more like, oh yeah, they're doing like the crash zooms and the 2 camera stuff. I think because maybe the jokes had a bit more thought to them before, whereas this was more of that kind of like brash kind of 2010s humour. Do you know what I mean? Of like, oh, we're still in the ice cream truck. Oh, we've knocked this guy over.
Yeah.
Whoa, like, why am I even sat here? Like, I need to go find my wife. Like, do you know what I mean? It was very like blunt humour.
Yeah, and I feel like the jokes, what worked with the other jokes in like the earlier episodes where they were in like different time periods, was that they like really made them like on the nose for the jokes at the time. Do you know what I'm saying? Like they really made it feel like, whereas this is like, yeah, they did that, but like I feel like they didn't do that enough in terms of, they should have really gone over the top with, you know, how obvious, like we all recognise these jokes, we've heard them before from all these sort of shows. Do you see what I'm trying to say? I guess that's a difficult thing though, because obviously it's like a mishmash of, you know, all the shows that we have now, so, you know.
That is the problem, isn't it? The closer we get to like the present day, it's like, well, the 50s stuff feels really fresh because we obviously didn't live through that sitcom era, and we might recognise some of the tropes.
Whereas
this, it's like, oh yeah, Modern Family, yeah, I get it, yeah.
And also, like, we're not too, you know, we've got more perspective on the tropes of the older stuff than we do of now as well. So it's harder for us to,
And
you know what I'm saying, laugh as much at how silly it is.
I feel like the older stuff, helps the narrative and helps the story move along, whereas last week and this week I feel like the sitcom stuff was just, well, this is what we've been doing, so we have to keep it up, but we're not really bothered about it.
Yeah,
especially with this week, I did feel that, definitely.
And there was just too much of it this week.
I feel like the pitch room for this show was 50s WandaVision.
Yes.
And then they were like, oh, and then we'll keep going up and up and up. But it's like, by the time we get to like post the twins, post Halloween, like where are we going with this?
Yeah.
It was fun to see it in that style. There were a few gags that made me laugh, but it was very few and far between. I did find, like, in those first 10 minutes, I was quite bored. And I haven't felt like that about WandaVision probably since the start, to be honest.
I agree. Yeah, I found it quite stop-start, this episode. I don't know about you guys. Like, I found it quite, like, we're getting some cool information. Oh, wait, we've got to go back and deal with, you know, a way that they're trying to get away, the writers are trying to get away from us revealing this information, or, like, you know, that stuff of, like, Vision. I know I guess it's a way of getting him away from Wanda for an episode, but like it was just kind of like, I didn't feel like if you're gonna do that, we didn't need to spend that much time with him, because like it wasn't that funny, and like we wasn't really getting much new information, so it was kind of like, it made it feel a bit more plodding.
But then we didn't need to spend that same amount of time with her, because I feel like I watched 20 minutes of Elizabeth Olsen, sorry, going, oh, I'm fine, and then like 3 minutes of actual good stuff.
This lamp's changing. This rug's changing. Oh my god, anarchy! No, I agree with you. I also thought it was disappointing with Vision that he was like, I'm going to fly off and find my wife. And then you don't see him for the rest of the episode. Oh.
Yeah.
I said you don't see him for the rest of the episode. Because it was like, that didn't feel at the end of the resolution of his episode, like, I'm going to go find my wife. It felt like, oh, he's flying off and now we're going to have some sort of altercation to end the episode. It just felt very flat. Felt like a lot of setup. Felt like a lot of, let's move the pieces on the board. Let's put Jimmy Woo over here. Let's put Vision over here. Just so they're all set up in the right places for the finale.
Yeah.
And sort of readjusting us to the barrier being made bigger.
Yes.
Having said that, speaking of the barrier, I do think the powers scene was the best scene.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Them charging in with that...
Sorry, you have to refer to it as Wanda's Wall.
Wanda's Wall.
Yeah.
Wanda's Wall. With that doom buggy clearly stolen from Reed Richards. Or bequeathed by Reed Richards. I thought that was so awesome, the way the density was just reacting back here, and then it started changing the truck and she had to get out, and the tension of that, and like Jimmy Woo trying to like get her out of there.
Do you think that's a trick she's learned from Vision? Because he changes his density, doesn't he? So do you think that's a trick she learned, like change the density of the wall? Lol.
I wonder.
That was just a little thought I had when it was happening.
Well, she changes his density in Civil War, doesn't she? Because when she shoots him down, she makes him so heavy that he collapses. Yeah. I actually forgot about that for my recent WandaVision video. But even though the Russo say out in the commentary that I'd probably watched like 5 times back in the day. Yeah, and then of course got a load of comments on it. Yeah. I said she just pushes him down, and then loads of people were like, no, she changes his density. And I'm like, God damn it, I actually knew that. That's the worst thing. It's like, you know it. I
don't believe you, mate.
No. It sounds like I'm lying.
And if you
I promise I knew she could change his density.
If you miss one little thing, we get loads of YouTube comments like, we're really sorry that we missed last week about the kids being asleep in their beds, but
we did miss that, but I also feel like it's a bit of a cop-out. I think what we were discussing last week's more interesting, of like, did Wanda snatch those kids? That's, again, another evil act. She's gone even further.
And like, even if they're on her, like, even if they are sleeping in the beds and nothing's happened to her, there's still a bunch of kids in a hex sleeping. And where do they come from? Like, she still had to get kids from somewhere.
It's just a bit convenient, isn't it? Because I like the whole, where are the children in Westview? Next week, she's abducted a load of children. That's more dramatic and interesting to me than, oh, no, it turns out, because obviously Wanda can't be that evil. She had them in their beds and they were all safe, and then she brought them out at the opportune episode, which doesn't make sense.
No.
If you were going to create a Westview, why would you leave the kids in bed? You'd have the whole family unit, wouldn't you, out and about?
Would you?
Well, she's trying to create, like, the idyllic nuclear family life, isn't she?
Yes.
So, like, it's based on that 50s sort of archetype, isn't it? Of like, you know, like, you get married, you have your 2 kids, you know, we bought a fridge, honey, it's this new technology, like, like, it starts from that
a toaster,
point, isn't it? Yeah. From Stark Industries. But yeah, I did like when Monica went through the force field and she was getting like separated. You could hear sort of like, I think you could hear like her mother, like sound bites from Captain Marvel and stuff, and then the way she like came all back together at the end. I think the way they've explained her getting the powers over time over this series has felt really organic. I like that she's the one that keeps going back in, and it's just because of that it started to sort of like rewrite her own DNA.
Yeah, I think that was cool. Yeah. Do you think that's what happened with Agnes then? Do you think that she kept trying to escape maybe, or something like that, and that's how she got her powers, or do you think she had them before?
No, I think she had them before.
Yeah.
She's Agatha Harkness, isn't she?
Yeah.
Which is based on a character from the comics who is just an out-and-out evil witch. So I reckon she's been there from the start. As the episode said, Agatha all along.
That was a really fun little
funny.
jingle.
It was really fun, wasn't it?
I really liked it.
Also, I just always loved the aesthetic of like, oh, she's got the same powers as the hero, so we're going to give her a different colour of power. She's got purple stuff.
Yes.
And Rambo has blue as well.
Yeah.
I really loved her little like Dr. Evil moment at the end of it, where she was like,
and I killed Sparky too.
That was really fun, yeah.
Really
that made me laugh.
It just wasn't quite the shock reveal at the end of like the penultimate episode that we needed. Do you know what I mean? Like after Quicksilver dropping, and last week I thought, even though there was no like twists, the force field getting expanded was like a really exciting finale.
I agree.
And this week it was just like, oh, Agatha, You mean the lady that's been acting all weird and, you know, everyone knows because people read the internet that she's going to be Agatha Harkness. Like, we all knew.
Yeah.
So there
we
wasn't
weren't
an
sure.
approach
We
to
were
it.
led away. We said about Agatha Harkness week 1, and then we haven't really spoken about Agatha Harkness since. So I do think they have done a very clever misdirection.
I only think, to be honest, though, that's because everyone knows she's going to be Agatha
Yes,
Harkness.
no, of
There's nothing
course.
really to discuss. Whereas, like, the prospect of, could the force field be Ultron? Could it be this? Could it be Mephisto? Like, I think that's more interesting.
I think that's how they get. I think that's how they get away with that ending of her. You know, she was there all along because, like, it's kind of like a nod. Like, yeah, we all kind of. I don't think they could have got away with that in anything else. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. Like the payoff of going through all the formats again and
Yes.
seeing how she was tricking and
Yeah.
it seemed like she created Quicksilver, but then we got that post-credit scene, didn't we? Where Quicksilver's still there.
But he was
he says-
looking after her property, wasn't he?
Yeah, he said something about like.
He was like, "You're sneaking," sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you think he's still sort of like?
I think
her
he's
spell.
still. I think he's like a goonie.
I'd be really disappointed if it turns out he's just like an apparition.
I think he is. I'm sorry to say it.
I'll be really disappointed with that.
Yeah,
But surely they know, or at least like he comes from that. He stays in the world. Do you know what I mean? Like from her putting him, they fix it, but.
I do think even if it doesn't turn out to be the exact X-Men Quicksilver, it's a mark of things to come because, like in Far From Home, they obviously say all that stuff about multiverses, and that turns out to be bullshit. And I remember when I first watched that, being a bit like, "Oh, it's cool that like." I was to say Mysterio creates all of these like weird illusions and creates this whole world. It turns out to be bullshit. That is interesting.
Yeah.
But it's also a bit disappointing because you know, based on the comics, that they're going to eventually do multiverse stuff. You want to see multiverse stuff, so to be told that's not true is kind of disappointing. But then they've now gone on, like in a subsequent MCU. I want to say movie, but it's not movies anymore. MCU. I don't want to say content.
Story.
Just me, yeah. Don't say
Can you imagine
content.
saying MCU and content in the same sentence?
Scorsese turns up, mate.
It's like Bloody Mary.
Ginger. That's what he does. Yeah.
Bloody Scorsese.
Not that he's not right.
I thought you said you liked Goodfellas, Matt. I did. I just like the MCU could